Hello, welcome to more yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you are doing well. And for some of you, I can already imagine the terror in your eyes because I have a broom stick or a broom handle. Um, it's funny because I know in my public classes, when anytime I have the dowel out, some people are super into it, and some people it's like, oh, dang, this is going to be intense. And it can be intense, but we can use it for really great things. And today, what we're going to use it for is getting into the calves, the hamstrings, and the soles of the feet. Um, why? Well, I've been talking a little bit about this. End of summer, right? We're transitioning footwear. I've blown out all the cushioning in my old pair of sandals this summer, and my feet are feeling tight. And then, switching to different shoes as well. All of these things can affect our gait and the relative tightness in our body. So, fascia in the sole of the foot can get tight, right? Particularly the plantar fascia. So if you get plantar fasciitis, that intense sort of tightness and kind of pain in the soles of the foot, of the feet. All of that is connected to the Achilles tendon, which attaches right at the base of the heel, crosses the back of the ankle, and then attaches your calf to your leg, or the calf muscles, one of them. Right? We don't need to get too deep into it. But they also cross the knee. What else crosses the knee? The hamstrings. So this whole system is intrinsically linked together. So tightness in the hamstrings can generate tightness in the soles of the feet. So that's why we're going to work all of that together today. And it might be fun, it might be intense, but it'll be good for us. I say that as much to encourage myself to, to go and roll with this. So the first thing we're going to do, oh, sorry, one last thing. If you have a block or a pillow or something that you can use at some point, is going to be useful. Again, as always, if you don't have it, you don't have it. And even if you don't have a dowel, you can do some of this work with a ball or a rolling pin or a wine bottle. You have something, I know, in your house that you can use that can imitate a broom handle or a dowel. Okay. All right, let's do this. So find a seated position. I'm going to sit up on a block just to give my hip flexors a bit of a break. Right, because as soon as I do this, my knees drop. All right, and they're not quite so crunched up. And then you're going to cross your legs or bend your knees or whatever you need to do to start to interlace your fingers in between your toes on one foot. It doesn't matter which foot you start with. So I'm doing the left side. This is my really tight foot. The fascia on the other foot is quite a bit looser. So even this might feel like a lot, right? Having your fingers between your toes. I get it. You're going to start to kind of twist and draw circles here. Right? Not so much with the ankle, although the ankle will allow for more movement, but you want to get into all the different ranges of motion that the foot does. A little bit more twisty, side to side. This is really great work. You can even massage a little bit into the sole of your foot while you've got your fingers interlaced between your toes. And then take the other hand, interlace them from the top in between the toes. And again, that can feel different, but you can get kind of a deeper stretch in some positions. And then shake that out. I want you to hold the back of the thigh and just do a couple little leg swings. Shake out the ankle and the foot. And then we'll switch sides. So this is just doing a little bit of manual manipulation. Manipulation. Sorry. The linguist in me is geeking out here. So first from the bottom, interlace the fingers between the toes. Right? Sometimes it's hard to get in there, particularly first thing in the morning. Fascia in the sole of the foot can be really tight because it hasn't been warmed up, it hasn't been moving a lot. So work side to side, point and flex. Rotations with the ankles. right? You'll see what feels tightest, what feels like needs to be stretched more than the other, and then switch it up. Go from the top down through the spaces between the toes. All right, and you might not be able to get your fingers all the way down to the base of the toes. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Right, just get as far down as feels good. Good is an interesting word to have used there. And you might massage into the sole of the foot. I mean, maybe this feels really good though. Maybe it feels horrifying. Both of those things are okay. All right, and into bring your hands behind your thigh. Just shake it out a little bit. All right, here we go. Let's grab the dowel. This can be pretty intense stuff. And know that a dowel is a blunt instrument. It's not like someone's fingers. So don't go to pain, right? If your body is feeling pain and flinching against the massage that you're getting, right? You're not getting a massage. You're not getting a release. So only go so far or as deep as feels okay on your body today. Got it? Okay. So you're going to be in a kneeling position. You can always double up your mat or accordion it underneath your knees for a little bit more cushioning. I'll show you from the side to start, right? We're going to essentially be in this position, but it can really help to have a block between your heel and your heels and your bum. Some people don't want to be up on their toes for that long, so you can untuck the toes, but then the calves are in a flexed position and it might be harder to get into them. Anyway, wherever you need to go, come up onto your knees, grab your dowel or your bar or your wine bottle or whatever you're doing. You might have to do one leg at a time if it's really short. And I want you to bring it up as close as you can to the back of the knees. And then I'm going to tuck my toes. And then you start to sit back. Now, you might sit all the way back. Kind of just depends on how often you do this sort of work. And you might also start to lean into it. Now, it can be really intense into the hamstrings as well as the calves, right? We're pressing into both of them, down into the calves, up into the hamstrings. And if it's too much, you take some of the weight off, right? Lift your butt up or bring a block in between your bum and your heels. Now, the other thing you can do here is rock a little bit from side to side. And I'm pretending I'm doing a really good job that this is not intense, but this is really quite intense. What this does is it cross hatches the muscle fibers, right? And the fascia that runs through the muscles and the connective tissue. And then when you get, fed up with that spot, lift up and roll the dowel down about, a couple centimeters or an inch. Oh, and then maybe you start to get into other places that feel interesting. Now, the cool thing about yoga, and we haven't really started with, the deepening of the breath and the following the breath, but it's joining, right? Yoga, joining union of mind and body. And it's a really good way to regulate, but also notice how we react in moments of intensity. So you might be like me and you might just laugh through it or swear through it, right? That's usually physical intensity. You can even pull up on it on the bar to get into the hamstrings a little bit more, but mostly I'm concerned about the calves. And then you just keep lift up and keep rolling down every once in a while. I'm going to say generally most people feel it tightest between the top and the mid calf. The farther down you go, it might start to feel a little bit less intense. Anyway, so yeah, right? Learning about ourselves. And then roll down. It might be totally fine on one side, but you get like a deep, sticky spot on the other side. So you can spend a little bit more time leaning on that side or getting into those spots. So you just do that little rock side to side. Your weight might be further back. It might be lifted up. I'm just going to keep rolling here. Last little bit of time. The only place I really don't want you to go, though, is right on the Achilles tendon. Right? We're going to stop before, there's essentially no muscle there as cushioning. Not that it's not a valuable thing to do, but I would prefer that a professional do that, or you just use your thumbs to massage the Achilles tendon. because I don't want to be responsible for any injuries or popping. Okay. Oh, I guess I'm tight further down. Last few breaths. You guys are probably finished a long time before this and you're just fast forwarding through the video. Maybe some of you are suckers for punishment and you're just loving this. And so you're just going to pause the video and just do this for half an hour before we even move on. All right, I'm on my last roll down before I get too far down the calf. And then when you're done, take the dowel out to the side, untuck your toes, tap out the tops of the feet a little bit. Maybe you sit back on top of the feet. I think we did this last time. Some people like to rock back or lift the toes up or the knees up. It doesn't work for me. But let's make our way into child's pose. So knees together or knees wide, but toes touching behind you, and then drape your forehead, your torso towards the floor. You can always stack your forehead on top of your fists or your palms, or maybe you have a pillow. You could bring one underneath your torso. Your arms might be extended. Some people really like to wrap their arms around their legs, or bend the elbows and bring the palms underneath the shoulders, kind of like chicken wings. And a few breaths, just to let our systems kind of regulate a little bit after, potentially a really intense bit of fascial work. And slowly start to press yourself up to hands and knees. Knees underneath hips, toes can be tucked or untucked. Tucked might feel a little bit intense still. And let's move through cat and cow. So inhale, lift the tailbone, hollow through the lower back. Beam your heart forward. And exhale, round through the spine. Press the floor away from you. Inhale into cow. Exhale, round into cat. So a few more of these on your own time, on your own breath. Maybe you start to take the hips further back towards the heels, or draw some barrel rolls with your chest or shoulders. And then come back to center. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but tuck your toes and exhale, lift the hips up and back into downward facing dog. Okay, so now we get to get into the calves a little bit. Pedal your heels towards the floor, bending one knee and then the other. You might already notice that possibly this feels a little bit easier on the legs today. A little bit deeper even. You might even hook one leg or foot behind the other ankle to get deeper into the calves. And then switch sides. Last couple breaths, just in the center, in downward facing dog. Doesn't matter how bent or straight your knees are. Hug the upper arm bones toward each other. And then bend your knees. Look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of your mat into your standing forward fold. If you'd like a bit more support, you could rest your elbows on your knees or your thighs. Or you could bring a block underneath your hands. You could clasp opposite elbows with hands, or interlace your hands behind your neck or even behind your back. Wherever feels good or best anyway on your body today. So last few breaths here, wherever you need to be. And then bring your fingertips to your shins. Inhale, a little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. Couple more, just like that. And then bend your knees, head heavy, arms heavy. Slowly start to roll up to standing. Chin glued to your chest the entire time. Until eventually, maybe you come all the way up to standing. Not maybe, do come all the way up. Couple loops of the shoulders up, back, and down. A little wiggle, noodle, or shake out. All right, hope you're feeling great. And if not, grab your dowel. And even if you are, grab your dowel. So we're going to get into the soles of the feet now. And this is a fantastic tool. Now, again, if you don't have a dowel, a ball can work really well, or one of those sort of wooden ridged things that helps sort of design specifically for getting into the soles of the feet. Anyway, bring the dowel down. And again, it doesn't matter what foot you start with, but just bring the balls of the foot up on your broom handle or your dowel. Dowels I like because they're a little bit thicker, right? They have a bigger circumference than the broom handle, so you get more of a wrap of your foot over top of it. And you might add more weight by sending your weight forward or even bending your knee a little bit. You could rock side to side, again, doing that sort of cross hatching of the muscle fiber. The other thing I don't want you to do right away is roll the foot back and forth, right? We're not rolling pastry, we're rolling our feet. Don't worry, you'll get a chance to do that. And then you roll forward a little bit more. See how that feels on the foot. You know, you might rock a little bit side to side or bend the knee to add more weight. And then just keep rolling, spending, a couple breaths at each position. Notice if one feels tight. You can see my shoulders lift a little bit on that one. And keep rolling. And I should say it's not that we need to regulate our reactions to intensity, right? We don't need to hide the emotion, at least not always, right? It's a pretty good practice sometimes, especially if you're talking to other people to do that. But it's just about learning about ourselves more than anything else. Right? If you're in deep pain, I don't need you to be like totally equanimous about it. If you're in deep pain, don't do this. And we'll rock from side to side, Mimi. And then eventually, I just have to roll this back so I don't roll off my mat. You get onto the heel. And then you can start to lift the toes up and kind of do a little wiggle, a rock side to side, really getting into that sometimes super tight fascia at the base of the heel. You can roll up onto the back edge of it too, and that can feel really good, right? So many different acupressure points on the soles of the feet that deal with organs and muscles and body parts, right? It's pretty cool. And then if you want to, you can do a couple like good old rolling out the pastry dough. Okay. And then come off the dowel and just stand and see how it might feel different, possibly, from one side to the other of your body. And then let's do the other foot. So starting at the balls of the foot, or right at the base of the toes, you take a little rock from side to side. If you don't feel much of anything, then just roll right away to the next little section, right about a centimeter at a time. Again, you can rock side to side. And then just keep working your way down your foot. And again, maybe noticing, get a little bit curious. How does this foot, how does it feel compared to the first side? Is it as tight? Is it tight in different spots? I know this foot that we're working at the moment, it's my looser foot these days. So it's not that I'm not feeling anything, but it's not as intense. To make it more intense, remember you can bend your knee or send your weight forward. Some people do this 2 feet at a time. That's That's pretty heroic, if you ask me. Keep rolling down the foot. Maybe do that little rock from side to side. And then eventually get onto the heel. Lift the sole of the toes up and rock. Those little pulses getting onto the back of the heel, which for me feels so good. And maybe the side of the foot. And then a couple pastry rolls. I think I went a bit faster on this side, so if you need more time, take more time. Right? Pause the video. That's the beauty about this sort of class. And then simply stand, eyes closed for a couple breaths, and notice what you might notice from one side to the other. And flick your eyelids open. Shake out the legs, shake out the feet. You can move the dowel off to the side or the front of the mat for a little bit. And bring your hands to your hips. Let's take a few hip circles, one direction. And then the other. All right, shake it out. Let's do a bit of an active dynamic release for the hamstrings, and then we'll do one long hold, and then that's about as much time as we have for the soles of the feet, the calf, and the hamstrings today. So send your weight to your right foot, bring the left heel to the floor, lift the toes up a little bit more, bring your hands to prayer, and then little micro bend on those knees. As you exhale, shift your hips back to come forward, so it's not rounding forward through the spine, right? It's a hip hinge. And you might stay up higher, you might come down lower, just sort of depends where it feels good. But try not to round through the spine, right? Because it just, the more active you are through the spine, the deeper the stretch will feel. And on your inhale, come up. This time as you exhale, we're going to go to the left. So hands go outside of that leg. Again, you might be up higher, you might be down lower. You could press one hand into the leg to get a little bit of interesting play here. And then inhale, come up to center. This time we'll go to the right, hips back. And hands up high or down low. Flare the toes on that front foot. Little micro bend in the knee. Inhale back up to center. Last time down through the middle. Keep that micro bend in the knee. And then inhale, stand up, shake out the legs a little bit, and then we'll switch side. So send the weight to that left foot, little buoyancy on that knee. Right heel comes forward, toes lift up, and then exhale, hip hinge back. Come down through the center, little micro bend, flare the toes on that front foot. My toes don't flare nearly as much on this side as they do on the other. You didn't need to know that. Inhale, come up to center. This time we'll go to the right. So hands go to the outside of that right leg. They might stay up high, they might come down lower. Keep your spine nice and long though. Right, what this is doing is dynamically stretching the hamstrings at different angles. So let's go to the left now. Even though that leg is still in the same position, we're just taking the tension in different ways. Right? It's like having an elastic band and kind of doing this. And then last time, down through the center. And then inhale, come up, shake out the legs. And then if you're not facing the top edge of your mat, maybe face the top edge of your mat. Feet hip width apart. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky. Exhale, melt to the earth, forward fold. Okay, now see how this feels. Maybe you feel a little bit more space. Maybe not. It's all good. But a little micro bend or even a deeper bend in the knees. And if your blood pressure is not great here, then by all means take a seated forward fold instead. What does that look like? Right? Something like this instead is going to be easier on the blood pressure. Generally not as deep of a stretch though as using the weight of your torso or your upper body here. And hands could come to a block to give yourself a little bit more ease. You could clasp opposite elbows with hands. We're going to be here for a little bit longer. Maybe you twist to one side. Walk the fingertips over to the right. See how that feels on the outer left thigh. or the back of the right leg, and then back to center. And then maybe you twist or walk your fingertips over to the left. Again, see how that feels. Last few breaths here. All right, fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. And this is about equalizing blood pressure. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Last time. And then bend your knees, clench your hands, come down to hands and knees. Little wiggle or shake or cat and cow. And then shift your hips on one side. Swing your legs forward. Shake them out a little bit. A little windshield wiper of the knees. There are less intense ways to get into the calf muscles, right? One of them is to roll them like this, just using the weight of the leg rather than the weight of your upper body sitting onto the calf. And maybe we'll do that next time. This is a great place to sit up on something like a chip foam block. We're going to do just one short butterfly pose before we come down to the floor. So bring the soles of the feet together, knees wide. You can always bring blocks or pillows underneath your knees, particularly if they're quite high and it's uncomfortable. Sitting up on something will help tilt the pelvis forward, which just gives you more space here. Right? And then inhale, lift tall through the spine. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you exhale, come forward on a long line first. See how that feels on the low back. If that feels all right, then maybe you round forward. Now, never go further than feels good. Right? Doesn't matter where I'm going. Doesn't matter where your neighbor is going. Maybe you're practicing yoga with your neighbor. You can bring blocks underneath you to prop up your head. Try not to pull up on your toes, though. It just creates a sickle in the foot. So last few breaths here. And then using your hands on your inhale, press yourself back up to seated. You could use your hands underneath your thighs to draw the legs toward each other. Shake out your legs. And then make your way down onto your back. You could do a Pilates style roll down to get there, or you might just flop down onto your back. That's fine. Once you're down, hug your knees into your chest and take a little rock from side to side. Let's do a quick little twist from one side to the other. So right arm out to the side first. Maybe you shift your hips right, and then exhale, lower your knees to the left. Any depth of twist, any variation of twist that feels good on your body. Right? This has nothing to do, not nothing, but less to do with tightness in the soles of the feet or the calves or the hamstrings. But it's always a good idea to get a little twist through the spine. And then inhale, return to center, reset your pelvis and your spine. Left arm out to the side, maybe you shift the hips left. Exhale, lower your knees to the right. Again, as gentle or as deep as you need here. Last couple breaths. And then inhale, come back to center, reset your pelvis and your spine. And then make your way into your final resting pose. One nice option after all of that lower leg work could be to bring blocks behind your knees. Kind of like I call it yoga lazy boy. Helps release the low back, but also just can help release some tension through the hamstrings. Or maybe you just lie flat on your back, legs bent or straight. You could rest on your side or child's pose or seated meditation. Legs up the wall might feel really good after all of that work today. So scoot your bum up to the wall and then bring the legs up, and that can feel super nice. Anyway, wherever you need to be for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose and exhale, sigh your breath away from you. A couple more. Let go of your breath control. Let go of any last muscle gripping or tension, particularly in the face or the jaw. And after all that deep fascial work, you might feel a little bit dizzy or a little bit woozy. You might not, but if you do, just try to drink lots of water, and that can help ease that sensation. Stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.